I'm Sarah, 29F, and I've been married to Vernon, 31M, for 5 years. We met in college where I was studying graphic design, and he was majoring in finance. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of indie music and weekend hiking trips. After graduation, we both landed entry-level jobs in the city, me at a small design firm and Vernon at a mid-sized financial company. We got married 2 years after college, full of optimism about our future together. We dreamed of buying a house, starting a family, and eventually retiring early to travel the world. But life had other plans for us. 3 years ago, I lost my job when the design firm went bankrupt. It was a tough time, and I struggled to find full-time work in my field. That's when I started my side hustle designing custom invitations and cards. What began as a way to make ends meet while job hunting turned into a passion project. I love the creative freedom and the relationships I built with my clients. Eventually, I landed a job at a marketing firm, but I kept my side gig going. The extra income allowed us to start saving for a down payment on a house, and I enjoyed the work. Vernon was supportive, even though it meant I was working long hours. Meanwhile, Vernon was good at his job and received several promotions. But as time went on, I noticed he seemed less and less happy. He'd come home stressed and irritable, often working late into the night. We started arguing more, usually about small things, but I could sense a growing tension between us. About a year ago, Vernon dropped a bombshell. He wanted to quit his job and become a teacher. Specifically, he wanted to teach kids how to code. I was surprised. Vernon had never mentioned an interest in teaching before. He explained that he'd been volunteering at the local youth center on weekends, helping with their computer club. He discovered a passion for working with kids and wanted to make it his career. I admired Vernon's desire to do something meaningful, but I was worried about the financial implications. Vernon's job provided the bulk of our income and our health insurance. My job at the marketing firm paid decently, but not enough to comfortably support both of us in our expensive city. After many long discussions, we agreed that Vernon would get his teaching certification while continuing to work at his finance job. It was a stressful year. Vernon was working full-time, studying for his certification in the evenings, and volunteering on weekends. I took on more freelance work to help cover the costs of his courses. We barely saw each other, and when we did, we were both exhausted. Finally, Vernon got his certification. He immediately quit his finance job and started looking for teaching positions. It took a few months, but he eventually landed a job at an after-school program teaching coding to middle schoolers. The pay was less than half of what he made in finance, but Vernon was happier than I'd seen him in years. At first, I was fully supportive. Yes, money was tight, but seeing Vernon passionate about his work made it seem worthwhile. We cut back on expenses, moved to a smaller apartment, and I ramped up my side hustle to make up some of the difference. It was tough, but we were making it work. But as months went by, the financial strain started to take its toll. We had to dip into our savings more and more often. Our dream of buying a house seemed to be slipping away. Arguments about money became more frequent. Vernon suggested I look for a higher-paying job, but I loved my work at the marketing firm and didn't want to leave. That brings us to the present. Last week, Vernon came to me with an idea. He wants to start his own summer coding camp for kids. He's really excited about it, talking about how he could reach more kids and have the freedom to develop his own curriculum. But it would require a significant investment upfront for equipment, venue rental, and marketing. Here's where the conflict comes in. Vernon asked me to give up my side hustle and instead use those hours to help him set up and run the camp. He argued that if the camp is successful, it could bring in more money than my freelance work. I told him I couldn't do that. My side hustle isn't just about the money, though we definitely need it right now. It's something I've built from the ground up, and I'm proud of it. I have regular clients who depend on me. And honestly, I'm not confident that Vernon's camp will be successful, at least not right away. Vernon didn't take my refusal well. He accused me of not believing in him and not supporting his dreams. He pointed out that he supported me when I started my side hustle, even though it meant less time together. He said if I really cared about his happiness, I'd be willing to take this risk with him. I tried to explain that the situations were different. When I started my side gig, we weren't struggling financially. It was extra money, not necessary income. And it didn't require giving up a steady job or investing a large sum upfront. But Vernon wouldn't listen. He said I was being selfish and prioritizing my hobby over his career. He's been giving me the cold shoulder ever since, making snarky comments about how I don't have faith in his abilities. I feel torn. On one hand, I want to support Vernon's passion for teaching. I know his finance job made him miserable, and I want him to have a fulfilling career. On the other hand, I feel like I'm the one keeping us afloat financially right now, and it seems reckless to give that up for an uncertain venture. Some of our friends think I'm being unsupportive and should give Vernon's idea a chance. They say marriages require sacrifice and that I'm not being a good partner. Others say I'm being practical and that Vernon needs to be more realistic about our financial situation. I'm starting to doubt myself. Am I being selfish? Should I be willing to take this risk for the sake of my husband's dreams? Or am I right to prioritize our financial stability? Ida for not wanting to give up my side hustle to help Vernon start his coding camp. Update 1. It's been about a month since my original post, and I want to thank everyone for their advice and perspectives. A lot has happened, and I'm still trying to process it all. After our initial argument, Vernon and I agreed to sit down and have a serious talk about our situation. I wanted to explain my concerns in more detail, hoping that if Vernon understood where I was coming from, we could find a compromise. I told Vernon about how stressed I've been about our finances. I showed him our budget, pointing out how we've been dipping into our savings more and more each month. I reminded him of our dream to buy a house someday and how that seems increasingly out of reach. I also opened up about my fears. What if one of us got sick or lost our job? We have no safety net right now. I also tried to explain that my side hustle isn't just about money. It's something I've built from scratch, and I'm proud of it. I've developed relationships with clients, some of whom have become friends. It's a creative outlet that brings me joy and satisfaction. Vernon listened, but I could tell he was still upset. He said he felt like I was choosing my hobby over his career aspirations. He talked about how teaching has given him a sense of purpose he never had in finance. He dreams of reaching more kids, especially those who might not otherwise have access to coding education. I could see how much this meant to him, and I felt guilty for not being more supportive. So, I offered a compromise. I said I'd be willing to reduce my side hustle hours by half and use that time to help him plan his coding camp. I thought this was a fair middle ground. I could keep my business running while also supporting Vernon's dream. Vernon reluctantly agreed, but I could tell he wasn't thrilled about it. Still, we moved forward with a plan. Over the next few weeks, I helped Vernon create a business plan, design a website, and start marketing his coding camp. It was a lot of work on top of my regular job and reduced side hustle hours, but I wanted to show Vernon I supported him. However, as we got deeper into the planning, some issues started to surface. Vernon hadn't really thought through many of the practical aspects of running a camp. He didn't have a clear curriculum beyond some basic coding exercises. He hadn't considered things like insurance or liability issues. And his budget projections seemed overly optimistic. He was counting on filling every slot in the camp with no room for error. When I pointed these things out, Vernon got defensive. He accused me of nitpicking and said I was trying to find reasons for the camp to fail. I tried to explain that I was just trying to be realistic and help him succeed, but he wouldn't listen. Things came to a head last week. Vernon announced that he had put down a non-refundable deposit on a venue for the camp. He had used money from our joint savings account, money we had earmarked for emergencies. And he had done this without discussing it with me first. I was furious. We had always agreed to make financial decisions together, especially big ones like this. When I confronted Vernon about it, he exploded. He said he was sick of me controlling our finances and that he had a right to make decisions too. He accused me of always undermining him and not believing in his abilities. The argument got heated. Vernon brought up old grievances, how he felt I worked too much, how he had supported my career changes in the past. He said he was tired of feeling like he needed my permission to pursue his dreams. I countered that it wasn't about permission, it was about being partners and making decisions together. Vernon stormed out and stayed at a friend's place for a couple of days. When he came back, we had another long talk. This time, Vernon opened up about some insecurities he'd been feeling. He admitted that he felt inadequate because he was earning less than me. He saw this camp as a way to prove himself, to show that he could be successful in his new career. I told Vernon I understood those feelings, but taking financial risks without consulting me wasn't the way to address them. I reminded him that I've always been proud of him, regardless of how much money he makes. What mattered to me was that he was happier and less stressed since leaving his finance job. We're at a bit of an impasse now. Vernon still wants to go ahead with the camp, but I'm not comfortable with the financial risk. I've suggested he start smaller, maybe do some one-on-one tutoring or small group classes first to build up experience and a client base. He's considering it, but I can tell he's disappointed. I'm feeling stressed and conflicted. I want to support Vernon's passion for teaching, but I also feel like I'm the only one being realistic about our financial situation. Vernon accuses me of being risk-averse and says we'll never get ahead if we're not willing to take chances. But I can't shake the feeling that this is too much, too soon. Some of our friends have taken sides. Vernon's best friend thinks I'm being controlling and says I should trust Vernon's judgment. My sister says Vernon is being selfish and needs to grow up. All this outside input is just adding to the stress. I'm at a loss for what to do next. How do we move forward from here? Am I wrong for not fully backing Vernon's plans? How do I balance supporting my husband's dreams with maintaining our financial stability? Any advice would be appreciated. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. After our last argument, Vernon agreed to start smaller with his coding classes. He began offering weekend workshops at a local community center. It was going well, and he was building up a good reputation. I was proud of him for compromising and taking a more measured approach. I thought we were finally on the same page, working towards our goals together. But I couldn't have been more wrong. About a month ago, Vernon came home buzzing with excitement about a great opportunity. A friend of his from his finance days, let's call him Mark, was starting an educational technology company. Mark wanted Vernon to come on board as a curriculum developer. At first, it sounded great. It seemed like a perfect blend of Vernon's teaching passion and his business background. But then Vernon explained the details. It was a startup, so the initial pay would be low, even lower than what Vernon was making at the after-school program. But Mark was offering equity in the company, promising big returns if the business took off. I was immediately wary. We were already struggling financially, and this seemed like another risky move. But I tried to keep an open mind. I asked Vernon about the company's business plan, their funding situation, and the market for their product. Vernon didn't have many answers. He said he trusted Mark and believed in the company's potential. I expressed my concerns as gently as I could. I pointed out that we couldn't afford for Vernon to take an even lower-paying job, especially one with no guarantee of future returns. I suggested that maybe he could consult for the company part-time while keeping his current job. That's when things went off the rails. Vernon accused me of always holding him back. He brought up how I hadn't fully supported his camp idea, and now I was trying to stop him from pursuing his dreams again. We had a huge fight. Vernon said he felt suffocated and controlled, that I never believed in him. I tried to explain that it wasn't about belief, it was about practical realities, but he wouldn't listen. The next day, Vernon dropped a bombshell. He had already accepted the job offer without discussing it with me. Not only that, but he had also agreed to invest a significant chunk of our savings into the startup to show his commitment. I was shocked and hurt. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was about trust and respect in our relationship. I told Vernon his unilateral decision-making was unacceptable, especially given our financial situation. I reminded him that those savings were meant for our future, for the house we wanted to buy. Vernon's response floored me. He said he was tired of asking for permission to live his life. He accused me of using money to control him and said he couldn't be with someone who didn't believe in him. Then he packed a bag and left, saying he needed time to think. It's been 2 weeks, and Vernon is still staying at a friend's place. He's gone ahead with a new job, throwing himself into the work. Meanwhile, I'm left trying to figure out how to cover our expenses on my own. I've had to take on extra freelance work just to make ends meet. Some days, I'm working from dawn until late at night. I'm hurt, angry, and confused. I feel like I've been supportive of Vernon's career changes, even when they put us in a difficult financial position. I encouraged him to leave his soul-crushing finance job. I supported him through his teacher certification. I helped him plan his coding camp and set up his workshops. But now I'm wondering if I've been too controlling without realizing it. Vernon and I have barely spoken in the past 2 weeks, just terse text messages about bills and logistics. Our friends are divided. Some think Vernon is being selfish and irresponsible. They say he's having a midlife crisis and needs to grow up. Others say I should have been more supportive of his dreams, that marriage is about taking risks together. I'm starting to question everything about our relationship. Vernon and I used to be a team, facing life's challenges together. Now it feels like we're on opposite sides. I miss the easy companionship we used to have, the way we could talk for hours about everything and nothing. But I'm also angry. I feel betrayed by Vernon's actions, by his willingness to gamble our future without even consulting me. And I'm scared. What if this startup fails? We'll have lost our savings and be in an even worse financial position. What if it succeeds? Will Vernon expect me to apologize for doubting him? Will he resent me for not believing in him from the start? I don't know where we go from here. Part of me wants to fight for our marriage, to find a way to rebuild the trust and partnership we once had. But another part wonders if we're just too different in our approaches to life and finances. Maybe this rift has been growing for years, and we've just now noticed it. I'm trying to focus on what I can control. I'm keeping up with my job and my freelance work. I'm staying in touch with friends and family. But the future feels uncertain in a way it never has before. I guess I'm not really asking if I'm the asshole anymore. I'm just lost. Has anyone been through something similar? How do you know when to keep fighting for a relationship and when to let go? Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. Vernon and I finally met up to talk things through, and it didn't go as I had hoped. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe where we used to have Sunday brunch dates early in our relationship. As soon as I saw Vernon, I was struck by how different he looked. He seemed both excited and exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes but a spark of enthusiasm I hadn't seen in a long time. Vernon is fully committed to his new job at the startup. He talked animatedly about the projects he's working on, the potential for the company, and his vision for the future of education technology. He's working long hours, often late into the night, and seems to be thriving on the energy and challenge of the startup environment. However, when we started discussing our personal situation, things quickly became tense. Vernon still isn't drawing a real salary, just a small stipend plus his equity in the company. Our savings are dwindling fast, and I've been struggling to cover all our expenses on my own. I tried to express my concerns about our financial stability and the lack of communication in our relationship. I explained how stressed I've been trying to manage everything on my own, and how hurt I was that he made such a big decision without consulting me. Vernon listened, but then he said something that shocked me. He admitted that he resented my financial success and felt emasculated by my ability to support us both. He said he took the startup job partly because he wanted to prove he could be as successful as me, maybe even more so. I was stunned. I had no idea Vernon felt this way. I always thought we were partners, supporting each other's successes. When I pointed out that his decision was putting us in a precarious position, he accused me of not believing in him and trying to hold him back. The conversation quickly devolved into an argument. Vernon said he felt suffocated in our marriage and needed space to pursue his ambitions without feeling judged. I countered that marriage was supposed to be a partnership, and his unilateral decisions were destroying that partnership. We went back and forth, bringing up old grievances and hurts. Vernon mentioned times he felt I prioritized work over our relationship. I brought up instances where I felt he didn't consider my feelings or our joint future. It was painful to realize how much resentment had built up between us over the years. In the heat of the moment, Vernon suggested we separate. He said he needed time to focus on his career without worrying about my disapproval. I was hurt and angry, but a part of me felt relief. The constant tension and arguments have been exhausting. After some discussion, we've decided to do a trial separation for 3 months. Vernon is staying with a friend and has agreed to contribute what he can to our joint expenses, but it's not much. I'm essentially supporting myself now, which is tough but manageable thanks to my job and side hustle. I'm using this time to reflect on our relationship and what I want for my future. I'm trying to understand where things went wrong and if there's a way to fix them. I've started seeing a therapist to help me process my feelings and gain some perspective. Some days, I miss Vernon terribly. I miss our inside jokes, the way he could make me laugh after a tough day, the comfort of his presence. I think about the dreams we shared and wonder if we can ever get back to that place of mutual understanding and support. Other days, I feel angry and betrayed by his actions. I think about the years I spent supporting his career changes and dreams, only to have him accuse me of holding him back. I wonder if he ever really saw me as an equal partner. I'm not sure what the future holds for us. Part of me hopes that this time apart will help us both gain perspective and come back together stronger. Another part wonders if we've grown too far apart, if our values and goals are just too different now. For now, I'm trying to focus on myself. I'm reconnecting with old friends, exploring new hobbies, and thinking about my own career goals. I'm learning to enjoy my own company again. I'm grateful for all the advice and support I've received here. It's helped me stand my ground and recognize that wanting financial stability doesn't make me unsupportive or controlling. I'm trying to find a balance between being open to risk and protecting myself. I don't know if Vernon and I will reconcile. I don't even know if that's what I want anymore. But I'm trying to stay strong and focus on what's best for me, whatever that may be. I guess I'm still struggling with some questions. Am I wrong for feeling relieved about this separation? Should I be fighting harder for our marriage? Or is it time to accept that we might be better off apart? How do you know when to keep trying and when to let go? Thank you all for listening and for your support throughout this journey. It means more than you know.